Most people imagine obsession as something loud, visible, and impossible to ignore. But obsession doesn't start with drama. It doesn't begin with big gestures or dramatic declarations. The most unsettling form of obsession is silent. It moves quietly, with patience, precision, and a level of attention that feels harmless at first, until it isn't. It hides behind polite conversations, behind normal behavior, and behind little coincidences that don't feel suspicious, until you start connecting the dots. The first sign begins so softly you almost miss it. They start mirroring you, not in the normal way people adapt to each other, but with eerie precision. You use a particular slang today, they use it tomorrow. You switch the tone of your texts, there's suddenly match. You mention a small habit you picked up, and the next time you see them, they've picked it up too. It doesn't feel like admiration. It feels like they're syncing themselves to you, adjusting like a shadow. A normal person mirrors subconsciously. An obsessed person mirrors intentionally. Then you notice they remember things you thought nobody else paid attention to. A random detail you mentioned months ago. A mood you were in last week. A fear you talked about once. They remember your routines, your preferences, the exact time you usually go silent at night. These memories aren't casual. It's like they're archiving you, storing your personality like files. You forget. They don't. And that's when you realize their attention isn't normal, it's investment. Another sign shows up in physical space. You begin running into them more often than you should. At the bus stop. At the store. At the cafe. Online. Offline. They always have a reason. I was just passing by. I had an errand. I didn't know you'd be here. But somehow, they always appear in places you frequent. And they never look surprised to see you. At first it feels flattering. Then it feels convenient. Eventually it feels too synchronized to be accidental. Obsession creates patterns disguised as coincidence. Soon, you start to notice they're not just watching your emotions, they're learning them. They figure out what makes you smile, what makes you annoyed, what makes you jealous, what makes you defensive, what makes you open up. They learn your emotional language better than you do. Not because they want to connect, but because they want to respond in the perfect way. Or react in a way that keeps them relevant. They don't just observe your emotions. They collect them. And once someone understands your emotional buttons, they can control the entire panel. Even when they disappear for a while, they don't really disappear. They go quiet, but the connection stays alive. They don't block you. They don't unfollow. They don't cut the cord. They stay close enough to see what you're doing, but far enough to look innocent. Their silence is just observation mode. They're watching your stories, reading your posts, lurking around your online presence. A normal person gets tired and moves on. An obsessed person stays nearby, studying. And when you're around them physically, something strange happens. Their body looks calm, but their eyes are working non-stop. Observing. Calculating. Noticing everything. Who you smile at. Who you text. How your expression changes when someone else enters the room. What makes you excited? What drains your energy? They're not looking at you to connect. They're looking to gather more data. Silent obsession looks like attention, but it feels like surveillance. Their mind isn't resting either. Obsession creates overanalysis. You say something simple like, "I'm busy today," and their mind breaks it into pieces. Are you avoiding them? Are you with someone else? Did they say something wrong? Why didn't you use an emoji this time? Why did you take longer to reply? Obsessed minds create full theories from tiny fragments. Things that mean nothing to you can trigger hours of thinking for them. With other people, they're emotionally stable. Calm. Polite. Easy. But with you, their emotions swing in extreme ways. 1 minute they're overprotective, the next they're jealous, then overly sweet, then suddenly distant. Their emotional temperature changes based on your presence. You become their trigger, good or bad. Their mood depends on how close or far they feel from you. Then comes the subtle form of control. Not big manipulation. Nothing obvious. Small, silent steering. Suggesting who you should avoid. Asking questions disguised as curiosity. Trying to influence your choices without making it look like influence. Wanting to know where you're going, who you're talking to, what your plans are. They want access, constant access, to your world. Obsession doesn't always trap you loudly. Sometimes it traps you softly. One of the strongest signs is speed. You text them. Instant reply. You post something. They're the first view. You come online. They appear immediately. You change your profile picture. They notice within seconds. They won't admit it, but their phone lights up for you faster than anyone else. You're their priority. Their fixation. Their constant internal alarm. And then the monitoring deepens. They start noticing your micro-shifts. The way your typing speed changes. How your tone fluctuates. When you're losing interest. When someone else excites you. When you're lying. When something is bothering you that you're not saying. They read your moods like a map, because they spend so much time studying the terrain. They also begin anticipating your behavior. They know when you'll pull away before you even do it. They know when you're about to say something emotional before you say it. They predict your reactions, your silence, your frustrations, your excitement. This isn't intuition. It's pattern analysis earned through constant observation. Their presence becomes consistent. Too consistent. They check up on you more often than they admit. They appear in your notifications, your messages, your comments, your likes. They show up right when you start losing interest. They sense distance instantly and try to pull you back. Obsession doesn't let things fade naturally. It interrupts silence with sudden presence. What's more disturbing is how they subtly test you. They'll purposely delay a reply just to see if you react. They'll remove a story to see if you noticed. They'll go quiet to measure your response. They'll hint at other people to provoke jealousy. They want to know exactly how much power they have over your emotions. Obsession isn't just attachment, it's curiosity about your reactions. Their perception of you becomes distorted. They create a version of you inside their mind that is perfect, idealized, untouchable. They're not obsessed with who you truly are. They're obsessed with who they've imagined you to be. And that version is always flawless. In their mind, you become a fantasy they don't want to lose. They might even begin adjusting their life around yours. Changing routines to match yours. Altering schedules. Rearranging priorities. Making time they don't actually have. Obsession reorganizes a person's entire daily life without them realizing it. They slowly build their world around your availability. You'll start noticing that they know things you didn't tell them directly. They piece clues together. They pay attention to everything. They make assumptions that are eerily accurate. They analyze your behavior like it's a puzzle they're determined to solve. Obsession makes a person hyper-aware of details normal people overlook. Eventually, they develop expectations. They want you to reply a certain way. They want your attention. They want your consistency. They want the emotional access they believe they've earned. And when you don't meet those expectations, they take it personally. Their reactions sharpen. Their disappointment becomes heavier. Their silence becomes louder. And the most unsettling part? They don't think they're obsessed. They think they care. They think they're invested. They think they're attentive. Obsession always feels like dedication to the person experiencing it. But once you start noticing these silent behaviors, you realize that what feels like attention can actually be something much darker, something that begins quietly but grows like a shadow that follows you everywhere. Which of these signs felt the most familiar? Tell me in the comments. And if you want a deeper part 2, just type more.